the crowds are waving already, and this is Joey Dunlop coming in to win the Classic TT across the line now, and what a reception he gets. What a reception he gets from the crowded grandstand. But here's Joey Dunlop, the left knee goes out, over he goes to the right, and Joey is really trying. A real little tiger. Joey Dunlop, winner of the Schweppes Jubilee race here in 1977.
This bike is a 1979 TZ750 Yamaha, and what makes the bike so special is it's part of our family heritage. My grandfather was a huge motorbike fan. In fact, he helped Joey Dunlop kickstart his career back in the day. So
it was my father bought the bike for Joey Dunlop, and the history of that bike's unbelievable. Firstly, it's really the bike that launched Joey out, winning the 1980 Classic TT, beating the works Hondas.
It's pretty amazing. You think these guys were racing around the TT on a bike like this, and pretty fast as well.
I think it was 1985. I rode it for a year and I won a lot of short circuits on it. And the main one was the Embassy Championship. I think at one stage that year I led the Northwest, beating Joey and Roger Marshall, but unfortunately the oil leak and that ruled me out and I had to stop.
So my grandfather was working class guy. He got involved with transport. He had a fleet of trucks doing distribution, formerly known as Ray Transport, and then became Ray Distribution, where my father still owns and directs the company from right here in Antrim. And my grandfather was a huge motorsport fan. He travelled all over the world watching GPs back then, 500 GPs.
I would say that bike is probably more wins than any other bike in this world. So it is.
Joey Dunlop was one of the greatest road racers that ever lived. It was in the era before me, to be honest, but I grew up in motorcycle paddocks when he was still racing, alongside my father actually. He was adored by thousands and thousands, not just here in Northern Ireland, but worldwide. He won 26 TT wins, and then his own nephew Michael to knock that figure out of the park. But for decades, Joey was the greatest of all time.
So many big names have come together to ride his original machines through his hometown, to remember his achievements as a motorcycle rider, but to remember how humble he was and all of the charity work he did off the motorcycle as well. He's one of Northern Ireland's most loved sporting ambassadors of all time, and I think ever will be.
Right now, it's around 25 years since we lost Joey at a road race in Estonia, and to mark that and celebrate the life and career of Joey Dunlop, they came up with this idea.
See John ride that bike, and thinking of what my father said at the very start, that he'd make him a world champion. It's hard to believe now he's a 6-time world champion. So to see him ride that bike is unbelievable. I can't wait to see it.
To actually pull it off is incredible. Of course, you need road closing orders, you need riders involved, you need fans, you need the weather on your side, but also you need all these bikes. And what was incredibly unique was there was so many original Joey Dunlop bikes, and I couldn't get it into my head that when I finish with a bike, it's gone. It's broken down into parts or it's sold on, but these were original Joey Dunlop bikes. So it just goes to show that when people knew they had a Joey Dunlop bike, they knew they had a piece of history. And it was really nice to see that. And even the rain couldn't deter people from being there. The parade took place at 5 p.m. in the evening, and it was lashing down. And people remained there and were clapping along the way. It was really, really nice, not just for me as a rider to be involved in the event, but for Joey's family, I'm sure, fans, and for the local town of Ballymoney as well. think I was 6 when 5 or 6 years old, my grandfather passed away. Maybe 7 actually, 94. So my memories of him were very vague, to be honest. But I do remember him telling me, and it was something I held on to in my career, that I would be world champion one day.
My father, unfortunately, he didn't see John in one of these championships, but if he's looking down tomorrow, he'd be a proud man.
You know, speaking to motorsport people right now in this era of my grandfather's age, they fondly talk about what an amazing guy he was. So, yeah, incredibly proud that this bike still remains inside the family, and I got to ride it. The bike's 46 years old, but the front brake was pretty nasty, to be honest. So it's amazing how these bikes were ridden around tracks like the Isle of Man TT so fast. The rear shock. Where the f*** is the rear shock? I was going to say it had twin shocks, but I don't even see a shock. Where's the rear shock?
I don't know.